Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of the Richard Cuff Morning Report. And this is sort of a combination of my daily commute broadcast and my morning report. I'm getting a late start leaving the house today, and if you for those of you who are just now who may be catching me for the very first time, please let me introduce myself. I'm Richard Cuff, president of CTI Marketing, founder of December Business Alliance, and master greatness coach here at GetReadyForGreatness.com. And throughout my day, I am broadcasting uh, pretty much three different live broadcasts. There's my daily commute, which is a very short conversation with you guys as I'm headed to the office. I actually started this during the first time we did the COVID lockdown, and all of my clients were inaccessible, and so all I could do was go to the office and do Zoom meetings. And I decided to just start having a conversation as I would walk to work because my wife said to me, it doesn't make sense for you to drive 40 seconds to get to the office. And that's really my daily commute. I am blessed that I was able to find not only a house in the community that I love and always have called home here in Northwest Jacksonville, but I was also able to find office space right near my office. In fact, I'm going to show you my daily commute right now. I just left the house, a good 50 yards to get to the stop sign. And then I turn and travel maybe another 100 yards more. And I'm at the turn I don't even make it to the main street. So I make another turn and I'm at the office. So this is my daily commute. And if I were to say, okay, I'll end the broadcast at the end of my daily commute, I wouldn't even have enough time to fill up a TikTok video. So, but this is cool because I get to do this every morning. And I decided that I would share my thoughts with you while I'm on this commute because these were just thoughts I would normally keep to myself, things I would normally um, speak to my inside voice. And I got to tell you guys this. This is I need to do another segment called Life with Miriam, my wife. On February 3rd, we celebrate 25 years of wedded bliss, and we've known each other for 26 years. But my life with Miriam is a trip. For years, I would hear Miriam tell the kids to use your inside voice, use your inside voice. And in my mind, inside voice has always been the voice that you use when you're inside the house, as opposed to the voice you use when you're outside playing and there's no restrictions as to how loud you can yell. So one day I'm coming out of the bathroom and I'm just humming to myself. And my wife says, will you use your inside voice? And I'm like, this is my inside voice. She says, no, the voice inside your head. And I went, duh. That's the inside voice you're talking about. The voice inside my head. Oh my God. It's amazing how we can communicate with each other and we don't realize that we're not totally communicating. Oftentimes we can communicate and actually be understanding the wrong communication until there is actually an opportunity to act on what you're communicating on. So the point is you can take a thought and you can entertain a thought, you can actually hold a thought, but it really doesn't matter what happens with inside of you to that thought. What matters is what you allow that thought to cause you to express. So a lot of us have thoughts of success. A lot of us have thoughts of 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 changing the world, but we use our inside voice to do that, and that's where all the battles are with your spiritual self, your mental, emotional, spiritual self. All that's going on the inside, and to you in your reality, you might think that you are actually changing something, and in the whole time you're just using your inside voice and you're not speaking with your inside outside voice. So you have to make a for whatever it is that you are desiring, and now I'll let this be the morning commute. Whatever it is that you have a desire for, Understand that it begins with a thought and a voice. But that thought and that voice are always, always, always an inside thought and an inside voice. Some say subconscious. So it's subconscious. We're not even you on the physical level, the physical and the mental level. It doesn't create a sensation that causes you to open your mouth and speak it. So that relationship between your physical body and your spiritual body is like that of a husband and wife. The spiritual body is the wife, the physical body is the husband, and the wife is simply a good wife. She's just waiting at home, waiting for you to tell her what you need to accomplish. Now, some might say it's like a king and a servant. You're the physical body is the king, and the spiritual body is the servant. Some in some old teachings, it's master and slave, but they use those things to kind of justify the physical world around them. So yes, when there were kings, they used king and servant to justify how that spiritual relation looked. And then of course, during modern day slavery, they use master and slave to justify that to connect to that relationship or to personify that relationship. And now we use husband wife, but really it's physical spiritual, and the spiritual is that servant part of you that's waiting to carry out the command. Now don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean that that spiritual part of you is like a slave that's just waiting, or a genie in a bottle waiting for you to command it around. That spiritual part of you can literally get out of the way of everything that's coming toward you and just let it run you over. And then next thing you know, you're crying out to it, oh, Jesus, 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 right? Because just a moment ago, you thought you had it all in control. So the reality of it is this. What we want to do is to focus on the fact that we need to be aware. So you're going to hear me say this often. Yes, you want to walk around with a mindset of gratitude, but there's gratitude to the fifth power. And gratitude to the fifth power is grace. And grace is, as you know, it's God's unmerited favor. It's when God gives you something that you didn't ask for and darn sure did not deserve. That's grace. But grace, Grace, let it be your mindset throughout the day. The G is for gratitude. Gratitude is pretty much the low-hanging fruit because it's the easiest thing that you can show. Respect is the art, but gratitude and respect can be expressed without any sort of a physical expression. You can do gratitude and respect all within your spirit, in your spirit self. But you have to get to the A, that's awareness. And awareness is that there's a physical existence around you. And once you become aware of your physical existence, then it makes you become aware of others' physical existence. Now, that's all you're going to, at that level, you're just aware. But what is it that you are aware of? You are aware that they too have some form of gratitude and some form of respect. Now, for what and to whom, you don't know that, but they do have that gratitude and respect before they can get to awareness. So either they are aware that there's gratitude and respect, or they're showing gratitude and respect to something and they're not aware of it. Those are the ones that might be grateful to get that next high, or they're grateful to get to that next Klan rally, or they're grateful to burn down a building because they're angry, but they're not aware that that is where they're directing their gratitude and their respect. Respect over here means disrespect for something else, but that's just a two-dimensional mindset. When you get to that third dimensional mindset, then comes the conscious awareness. Now that you gratitude, respect, and awareness, now you can push it out into the world, and that's where the C and the E of the word grace comes in. There's compassion, and then there's empathy. Now, a lot of people are aware and they're looking out in the world, but because they only have gratitude and respect for that which serves them, like a wife or slave or servant, they do not show compassion and empathy for anything that they see in the world. Black lives matter. So what? All lives matter. You see that? So they can have this level of awareness, and then they start using that level of awareness that instead of using it to show compassion and empathy, they use it to influence the vote. They use it to rally 75 million people to want to burn stuff down because they're making those people feel gratitude and respect for something toward which they should not be feeling gratitude and respect. So think of it this way: gratitude and respect on the spiritual level, compassion and empathy on the physical level. And right there in the middle, in the conscious awareness space, everything that you are is that A for awareness. Be aware of who you are right now at this very moment. Be aware of where grace and respect are facing, and be aware of where compassion and empathy are facing. And if it creates a straight line, man, and you're right there in the middle, your life is going to be awesome, because now God can use that pathway of grace and show you his unmerited favor, because you are now lined up to the spiritual vibrations for God to just start pouring out these blessings into your life that you did not ask for, and that your mind could not have even wrapped itself around to see that that was what you needed. So that's the daily commute part. So I could probably just end the video right there and say, that's it for my daily commute. I will talk with you guys later. And then I run inside into my office and set up the podcasting studio, and then start my morning report. So this is what I want to talk about in the today's episode of the Richard Cuff Morning Report. As you guys will know, as you continue to follow me, that I'm going to talk on 4 levels. I'm always going to be laying out 4 different dimensions to everything, and I'm going to do my best to do that with whatever broadcast that I do. And on the basic level, it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. That is the PS factor. If you are just aware of the PS factor, life will be totally different for you. Everything can change in just 21 days with the PS factor. And that means you got it turned on all 4 of those dimensions. You'll see things in a different way, because what will happen is the old way will die off and a new life will begin to pick up. And you will find that you can never go back to the way that you were. So the PS factor is your level of conscious awareness of your natural God-given ability to attract a successful outcome in any given situation. Your level of conscious awareness to attract a successful outcome in any given situation. A great example that I use of that, before I go into my the 4 parts of my morning report here, I just want to lay the foundation for the PS factor and how it factors into your life. Your level of conscious awareness can be on 4 levels: PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4. PS1 is physical, PS2 is mental, PS3 is emotional, and PS4 is spiritual. Now, at no time are you going to discover that you will spend all of your time in any one of those different levels, except with this one exception. The lower levels you can spend your entire existence on, because you are not consciously aware that you can go up to the other levels. So at the lowest level, you are locked into the physical existence. And in that physical existence, there are processes that you go, what I call the progressive mindset. The progressive mindset is going to take you through 7 stages just down at that physical level before you hit your aha moment and go, I can see what that means now when the Bible says he's able to do exceedingly, well, not exceedingly, but exceeding. And there's a difference in that word. He's able to do exceeding. That means going beyond. He's able to do going beyond all that I could ask or think or pray for. Whatever, or think or ask for. It doesn't matter. Wherever I thought I could go, this power goes beyond that. And what that is saying is, if you are a one-dimensional being, there's a second dimension that you are not able to wrap your mind around. Then even if you get to the second dimension, you'll discover there's a third dimension that you can't wrap your mind around. You get into the third dimension, which is where we have our existence, and you realize there's a 4th dimension. Now, some people can theorize about what's going on in the 4th dimension, but even they cannot wrap their mind around it. Even Albert Einstein, one of the smartest men ever to live and to walk on this earth, said it for himself, is that um, all of all of man's knowledge is but that of school children. If you can take everything that every man on earth knows, and it's but that of school children. So even Albert Einstein recognized that what we are discovering is just a scratching of the surface of what's in the next dimension. So that next dimension is the fourth dimension. It's time, and some say time space, but that's like a combination of the fourth and the fifth dimension. But time is is like a swimming pool. The way we experience it is we only experience the water that where we stick our hand in the water and we see the water on our hand. That's how much time we experience, and we think that that's all that there is because that's all that we can perceive. But time is more like a swimming pool. Time is more than a swimming pool. It's more like an ocean that's wrapped all around us that we have no idea how big it is. All we know is that we're just swimming in that particular part of the ocean. So that's the PS factor. PS one, two, three, and four: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Now, depending on how your conscious awareness of the space that's around you, how what level of awareness it is, every time you hear something in the news, you're going to be impacted in that way, just to that level, especially if you're at one of the lower levels where all you can do is gripe and moan and complain and you can't change it. The beautiful thing about our democracy is it brings, to quote Bishop Von McLaughlin here in Jacksonville, he says, "You sometimes you have to bring the hay down where the goats can get it." I love that phrase because that's how our democracy works. It's the one time that everybody, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, it's the one time when you have to bring the hay down where the goats can get it. Now, there are those high-minded, wealthy people sitting in their gated communities. They literally have security guards wrapped around them, and they're passing laws that impact somebody that's practically living in a cardboard box. Me, I can relate to that because 1990, I moved to Jacksonville with everything I owned in the trunk of my cousin's car, and 6 months later, I was homeless. Now, I literally could have gotten on a Greyhound bus and gone back to Miami and stayed with my sisters, my brothers, my dad, or anybody. But this was 18 months after my mom's death, and I didn't see anything going back to Miami. Everything for me was what could happen going forward. And I look back at that now, and I'm going, why didn't I even think that? Because my mindset wasn't there. I didn't have a thought that there was a way going back. To me, there was nothing going back. It did not exist. So I just had to stick this thing out. But the one thing that I did understand was homelessness did not need to be a permanent mindset. I always tell people this. I was homeless for one day 3 times. So you're only homeless for one day. You wake up the next morning, you're homeless for one day again. And then you wake up the next moment and you're homeless for one day. The question is, how many times do you want to be homeless for one day? How many times do you want to be broke for one day? How many times do you want to be struggling for one day? How many times do you want to be breathing real hard and unhealthy for one day? How many times do you want to duplicate yesterday and make it just like today? Here's what you need to understand: that today will be tomorrow's yesterday. So tomorrow, you'll be looking back at today, calling it yesterday, just like that. So when you realize that today is tomorrow's yesterday, you're beginning to understand how time works. They all are the same. One day is as 1,000 years. 1,000 years is as one day. Tomorrow is like yesterday. Yesterday is like tomorrow. Time doesn't care. It's all the same. So if today is tomorrow's yesterday, then understand this. Today is your opportunity to look into the future. So if you can look into the future and go, you know what, tomorrow I am going to be sitting in this same chair looking back and saying, I was here. Listen, do this little exercise. Grab a pencil or a pen and write down, on tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I predict that I will be looking back at this moment that I wrote this on this paper, and put the paper in a book, and then go pick it up tomorrow and you'll go, oh my God, I am looking back at yesterday, at the moment I was writing it. I remember when I was writing this. Now, guess what happens? You see how I would have written it on a piece of paper. This piece of paper right here. See, that's blank. There's nothing on it. But do you know that spirit of yours that's on the inside? That spirit of yours on the inside doesn't care that this is a blank piece of paper. All it knows is you're telling it what tomorrow will look like when you get there. So you can get there tomorrow and say, you know what? I remember when I was sitting in my car crying over my bills. And that'll be true. But you could also say, I remember when I was sitting in my car wishing that I had this house that I live in. That's the exact same thing. And there'll be a house on this picture. So what are you going to remember tomorrow? What are you going to remember tomorrow? Are you going to remember how many problems that you had? I remember I was suffering tomorrow. I'm suffering the same way. And I remember I've been suffering this way. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to say, tomorrow, I remember when I didn't have $5,000 in my bank account. Whoa, guess what that does? Tomorrow, I remember when I wasn't worth $1 billion. I remember when I did not have the ability to stroke a check
$5,000 to help my mom. I remember. You can sit in your chair right now, close your eyes, and remember those moments. I remember when I couldn't do any of those things. And what are you saying to that part of you right now? I am doing it now. Doing it now when? When I get there? No, I'm doing it now, because in the spiritual world, it doesn't matter where it is on the calendar, on the map. This is the key. 4 things. Take your eye off the clock, take your eye off the checkbook, take your eye off the calendar, and take your eye off the map. And then go inside, close that door, and pray to God in remembrance of everything that he's done for you tomorrow. Guys, let's talk about these news items, and then I'm going to get off of here, and I got to get to work, y'all, because this is a really interesting time for me and my business, and everything that I've been remembering for the past 20 years. I'm now living, and I've got some great news on a personal front. I'll share that with you guys. I'll probably listen for that stuff in the PS Factor podcast. I'm going to relaunch the PS Factor podcast and announce my new book coming up, which you guys are going to be able to place the orders. I've got a great publisher that we've partnered with, and the relationship right now is really, really awesome. I've got the editors and all the stuff that I need. It's a Christian a Christian publishing company, which I just love that thought that they know how to take what I am delivering to them and edit it in such a way that it can reach an audience that will that the book will have its most impact. So guys, listen up and look out for the PS Factor coming up. 7 Habits to Unleashing Your Greatness and Building Generational Wealth. That's going to be a powerful, powerful, powerful book. So that's going to be coming out soon. And the PS Factor podcast is going to be relaunched. I've got the next episode that I'm going to post is a great conversation I had with a good friend of mine, Andy Bruck, who's been my ride or die, y'all. Andy, I got to give a shout out to Andy because he's a violinist with the Jacksonville Symphony. And I met Andy, 2006, when I was a consultant to the symphony for 3 seasons and helped build the Jacksonville Symphony Youth Orchestra to what it is today. Right now, the Jumpstart Strings program is running through communities and schools as an after-school program. But it was tucked away within the Jacksonville Symphony as their youngest orchestra. They had this gem of an orchestra operation that the Jacksonville Symphony didn't even know that they could do with this. And I brought it out into our community, and now a nonprofit organization has a Jumpstart Strings program. I left the Jumpstart Strings program over there. It was one of those things about cutting the baby in half. I didn't want to cut my baby in half, so I left it over there and started a new baby called the Guiding Success Program. And God made that one even better because now I'm able to connect with child care centers and private schools all over the nation. We're duplicating our Guiding Success Program. I'm going to tell you about that, but I really want to share that. I'm going to actually probably do the work that the information through I'm working with Dr. Omega Allen to bring her podcast to life. because she's been doing some great work behind the scenes on our program. Though you'll find out later that she's the chairman of our board. And the agreement that I made with her on the day I first talked with Dr. Allen was the day I picked up the phone, and I admitted to her right away. I was all ready for Anna Brochet to announce that she was going to become a Democrat. And if Anna Brochet, when she was running for mayor, had announced that she had changed her party, I would have, as a no party affiliated voter, I would have changed my voter identification or my voter party to Democrat so that I could be all on Team Brochet. But Anna Brochet did something really, really slick. She got every Democrat riled up in this city thinking that she was a Democrat. In fact, I didn't know she was a Democrat when she first started giving Curry the business. I mean, she was all up in his business. And then Garrett Dennis got on board. And so the way Garrett and Anna worked, I really thought they both were Democrats. And then I did a little bit of research and I saw that Anna was a Republican. And once I saw that she was a Republican, I did not change my thought about what she did. I just was surprised that she was a Republican digging into Curry the way she was. And I said, well, you know what, she got some juice. But then when the conversation came that Garrett Dennis was not going to run for mayor, but Anna Brochet would, and Garrett would get behind Anna, I just saw that Anna was going to become a Democrat and they were going to run the ball as a Democrat. Nope. Who is it? Ed Austin? Ed Austin won as a Democrat and became a Republican in office while mayor. So I know you can change parties, but for whatever reason, Anna Brochet didn't do that. And when she didn't do that, I immediately went by default to the no party affiliated candidate. And I had never met Dr. Omega Allen. I saw her run the first time, and I didn't vote for her because she was NPA. I can't even remember who I voted for in the mayoral election prior to that. But the bottom line is I know I did not vote for Omega Allen, or maybe I did. I can't remember. Y'all try to take me back 4 years. What I do know, and I'll have to go and look and see who was on the ballot and try to remember how I voted. But here's my point. I was not in the mindset that a no party affiliated candidate could get enough votes to make a difference until this last election here in Jacksonville, 2019. That was when no Democrats ran against Liddy Curry. And then you had groups come out like Democrats for Anna. Basically, you had Democrats who were for Republicans. Nobody can show me anywhere where there's a Republican that's for a Democrat. But we always want the Democrats to sing Kumbaya and can we all just get along? Well, we're seeing that happen. And this is going to bring me to what I'm talking about today. But my point is that look for not only the PS Factor podcast, but the Omega for All podcast is going to be coming up, where this is going to be our opportunity to talk to the no party affiliated voter and bring no party affiliated voices to the forefront so that people can understand that no party affiliation, NPA, does not mean you're an independent. Independent is a party. Green is a party. T is a party. Democrat is a party. Republican is a party. There's some 21 parties registered in the state of Florida that are parties, and any one of those parties could dominate the political scene. But why is it that only Republican and Democrat dominate the scene? And that's because of the Republicans and Democrats have much better PR, much better connections, and much better manipulation of the system as it exists. And therefore is the reason, therefore you'll find the reason for there to be no party affiliated candidates, because when enough people are not affiliated with the party and the Republican and the Democrat Party can't fill their coffers with donations and know that they can depend on those votes, and they can't go extreme, they can go to the far extreme, but you start leaving people in the middle, and those people who are getting ignored in the middle are going to begin to speak up. They might be just as angry, but they're not radical. They're not radicalized. They still believe that there's too much government. They don't like government intrusion, but they're not going to go and storm the Capitol. They believe that the debt is too high, but they ain't going to come up with a conspiracy that says it's Antifa or them social liberal communists. They're not going to go that far. I know I'm not. And if you do, then you're not an MPA. Then go over to the party that believes that. But here's what I want to talk about today, guys. And I'm gonna let you guys go so I can get in and do what I need to do. As I told you, I'm gonna always talk in 4 different stages. I want to sort of say, okay, here's what we're doing on the national level. Here's what's going on the state level. Here's the local level, and then individually, what is impacting you, or primarily what I'm thinking. And I have the section that on the national level, I call it the Federal Reserve. And that's when I reserve my time for talking about issues on the federal level. And I want to start off right there with on the federal level, because we're in a process right now of a transition. Joe Biden is being inaugurated today, and Trump has finally had what looks like a half-assed concession speech, but it just was touting his lies and his beliefs to the people that believe those lies and are not going to change. Steve Inskeep on NPR today asked the question to the person. I can't remember who he was. Was it the Gretchen from the governor that was going to be that they were trying to go and kidnap? And he asked something to the effect of, what are you going to do to not make the majority of the Republicans, or which in essence is 30% of the population, probably about, if you really count it, it's only about 20% of the population. And probably 99.9% of those are angry white men. So he asked her, what are the Democrats going to do to make certain that these angry white men do not feel like, now that you all have the power, that you're just rolling over them? And the reality of it is what they're going to do to make certain that you're not rolling over them is we're supposed to just make them feel like they can come over here. You just tried to burn down the Capitol. Now we're going to sit and negotiate with you. Well, we did that in 1877. And when we did that in 1877, we compromised. It's called the Compromise of 1877, when the Republicans and the Democrats had a secret meeting to say, what are we going to do about all these angry white people that are mad at black people? So they started creating, they came together and said there'll never be a third party. It's for 100 years, it was Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. And even if you look back at the history of this country, especially between 1801 to 1825 or so, 26, there's a 25 year period that the party was called the Democrat Republican Party. It was one party. So basically, the Democrat Republican Party made themselves look like 2 parties, and they're actually one. They've always been one. It was called the Democrat Republican Party. But when they started losing because there were extremists within the Democrat Republican Party who wanted slavery to be expanded to the new territory that was just purchased in Louisiana Purchase, that's when the argument came. Well, how much of that territory is going to be slave states? And that you started seeing this divide in the Democrat Republican Party, and boop, the Democrats went over here wanting slavery, and the Republicans went over here, now having to double down and bring in the abolitionists, who wanted to abolish slavery, and the abolitionists now were with these secessionists who wanted to remove themselves from the whole government system. So you got the one extreme, it's abolish, and the other extreme, it's secede. And then it led to civil war. But guess who wasn't in that civil war? Black people. Because when the left went far over here and the right went far over there, black people were just sitting here like, look, we're actually literally chained to the position that we're in. We don't have a choice right now. So call us when this thing is over. And when it was over, the South lost, the secessionists lost, and now the government was putting things back together during a 12-year period called Reconstruction. And during that Reconstruction period, We got 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment written specifically to incorporate Black people into the conversation. In the meantime, the Reconstructionists and the federal troops had their necks on their foot on the necks of everybody who seceded. Every state that seceded, they had to go through a checklist to show that they weren't going to do that crap again. And a couple states were doing it. But then there were a couple states that, nah, we ain't gonna do it, especially when part of what we have to do is treat them Negroes nicely. No, we're not gonna do it. Then came the election of 1876, and we found that we couldn't get it back together again through the process of democracy. So they went and did a business deal called the Compromise of 1877. Look it up, and you'll understand that the Democrat-Republican Party came back together as one. It was one in the beginning. It split because of slavery. It came back together as one, and they've been faking us, making us believe that they're going to argue over here and argue over there, and it's really two wings of the left wing and the right wing are two wings of the same bird flying in the same direction. And then that bird got shot down. Thank you, and Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Ossoff and Warnock are you saw that bird get shot out the air. And you saw Mitch McConnell come blazing down to the ground, and Donald Trump and everybody come blazing down to the ground. And now we're having this transition of power. And I noticed something when they played the secession speech of Ronald Reagan. Reagan did not say the words transition of power. He said the word transition of authority. See, there's a big difference between power and authority. Power can grant authority. Authority can never take more power than it was granted. So now these Republicans are feeling like we're going to give you authority, but we're not going to give you power. That's the ultimate in privilege. So nobody will give you power. You have to take power. You have to seize, seize it, and you fight to get power. Why? Because you got to use energy to go up against energy. And do we have the energy? And we do have the energy. The energy is called democracy, and we learned that. So when they want to take up arms, we take up the vote. We take up a process. Yeah, they're going to shoot and kill, and people are going to die because of the way our democracy is made. But then comes the time that people should pay. But when we start electing people that can manipulate our democracy to create these kind of loopholes that we see, then we get what we've got. And that's what I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, because I want to get to the difference between a pardon and a pass. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the bottom line is this transition of power. We need to understand that that's what it truly is, not a transition of authority. Because if we're not careful, we're going to get what we got here in Florida, and that's going to bring us. Now I'll go to on the Florida state level. Here in Florida, there's a county, and I'll go and research that a little bit more, and maybe even work on bringing somebody onto the show to talk about it specifically. But they are going from calling Joe Biden President-elect Biden. And they're now going forward. The Republican Party has voted, I'd imagine unanimously, that they will not refer to Biden ever as President Biden. They're going to call him President-imposed Biden. What kind of crap is that? But that's what we get from these people who have the privilege that their great-great-great-grandfathers had to continue to say we belong, even after you try to destroy this nation 3, 4, 5 different times, and the nation still stays together. Then we come back with, well, are we going to roll over them right now? Well, yes. Yes, we are. Because when Trump got in office, the GOP said, Trump is our president. Now he won. Get over it. That's what they said. Now, as one Democrat congressman said during the impeachment hearings, for the last 4 weeks, you've been saying stop the steal, and now suddenly you want to start saying start the heal. Yeah, it's amazing how that goes. So think about that, guys, on the national level and on what's happening on the state level about the difference when they say They're going to go from calling Joe Biden President-elect Biden to calling him President-imposed Biden. What are they doing? What they are doing is they are changing the definition of things to fit their definition and causing you to go along with it. What I say we should do is not call Biden a Democrat or a Republican. He is President Biden, period. So when you get into office, you no longer serve your party, you serve the people. That, if we pass that law, everything would change, and the media can change it. If the media agreed to stop referring to the person that comes onto the show, I will now speak with Congressman so-and-so, the Republican congressman from the great state of Alabama. No, you're not the Republican congressman from the state of Alabama. You are the congressman representing District 43 in the state of Alabama. That's it. I don't need to know your party affiliation. What I need to know is what you stand for. And then if that's all you're going to talk about, then you can't give me Republican talking points. You're out there on your own representing those people. So your nonsense that comes out of your mouth represents the people of that district. Well, that's fine. Then I can make a decision as to whether or not I want to go whenever I drive over there. Do I want to stay in a hotel in that district? Do I want to buy a burger in that district? No, I'll drive right through that district and put my money somewhere else. And see, when I can start voting with my money and my dollar, without having to worry about the Republican Party or the Democrat Party using their collective power to overshadow my one little dollar and my one little vote. But that's how we can do this, is not give the platform to a party after we have a long, hard fought election. The election now belongs to the victor belongs to the people. So we, the people, elected Joe Biden, not we, the Democrats, not we, the Republicans. We, the people, elected Joe Biden, so we, the people, can get behind Biden. Now you got the congressional districts of all the other people to make certain that Joe Biden stays in check. And that's what the Congress should have done for 4 years with Trump. But how much have the Congress, name one time that the Congress put Trump in check in 4 years? Not once. Except when Mitch McConnell lost his job and his wife had to resign, lost her position. Now he wants to talk about how Trump has done something. Really, today? You want to come out on the last day. It's time for Trump, for McConnell to lose his job completely. Now on this state level, the Postal Service, and this is what I want to talk about. The Postal Service now is backlogged, and people are getting bills they'll pay their bills. It take a month to get there. Someone was talking about they just got their Christmas card today, and the Postal Service has on its website an explanation as to what's happening. They're short-staffed and everything else. And that's because the Trump appointee began to run the Postal Service like the postal business. The Postal Service is not a business. It's a service of the people and to the people. Rain, snow, sleet, hail, all of that. The federal government should be paying for the Postal Service the same way the federal government pays for the military. So how is it that we can go and call the military a service and not a business, but the Postal Service is a service, or call the military a business and not a service? We treat it like that, and we're treating it as if it's a service to the American people. And Trump was wrong for not giving the military their budget. Well, why are we not doing the exact same thing with the Postal Service? And in fact, I'd love to see the Postal Service go postal, meaning we should turn the Postal Service into a version of the National Guard. The federal government should arm every postal worker to be able to, and train them to shoot to kill. So then if the Postal Service has to be called the same way we call a former military person like myself, after I got out of the Army, I still was on inactive duty, and I could be called back. I think for 8 years or so after I got out, I still could be called back. I was in the reserve. Because if the federal government picked up the phone and called up and said, "You got to suit up, bruh, you have to go," then we should have federal government should have servants that are ready to suit up, so that we can make certain that when our democracy needs protecting, we never get caught ever again with our pants down, like what happened on 1/6/21. 1/6/21 should replace 9/11 in our minds right now. You should be saying 1/6/21 all the time. So there's a difference between a service and a business. And when the federal government offers it, The federal government has a service to the people, and we shouldn't be trying to treat it like a business, allowing people like a Trump appointee to come in and dismantle the service to the people. Now, here locally, this is what I want to talk about. And before I do that, because I was going to talk about pardons versus a pass, and two people. If I had my producers with me, I could put the pictures up on the screen and show you guys. But I wanted to. It's a great juxtaposition. It's a photo of Steve Bannon and a photo of Lil Wayne. Now, what Trump did was Trump pardoned Lil Wayne, and Lil Wayne pled guilty to a gun charge. And therefore, Lil Wayne was on the hook to pay society back because of that conviction. But Trump pardoned him. That's a pardon. A pardon is when you do something wrong and you are held accountable, and that accountability is going to cause you to have to pay something, whether it's pay your life, pay your time, pay restitution, do whatever it is, community service, you've got to pay something. What a pardon does is a pardon says you no longer have to pay whatever pay going forward. You're let off the hook. That's what a pardon does. But when you pardon somebody before they are convicted, before they go to trial, that's called a pass. And Steve Bannon got a pass. This sucker, I don't know if y'all know, go research it. Google it, watch whatever news source you want to watch it on, because I'm not going to try and feed you the news. But go look at what happened with Steve Bannon. This joker got arrested. The FBI tracked him down, found him on a yacht. The yacht of a Chinese billionaire cutting deals. And they arrested him. Now, they did not arrest him for being on the yacht cutting the deal with the Chinese billionaire. But this is the guy who brought us Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who's against anything China. His man is on a yacht cutting deals with a Chinese billionaire in the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. Now, if he had been arrested for doing that, that would be bad enough. But the reason why he was arrested on a yacht doing business with a Chinese billionaire is because he suckered people out of $25 million who thought they were putting money in to build a wall. And he took that money and pocketed it along with some other dude who's going to go to jail more than likely. But what did Trump do? Trump pardons Bannon before it even goes to trial, before he's found guilty, before anything. That's a pass, y'all. That's not a pardon. And that's a pass comes with privilege. You only get a pass because you have privilege, or somebody gave you that privilege. Think about it. You got to go to the bathroom in school. What did you need? You needed a hall pass. But you didn't just pop that pass out your behind. You had to go to the teacher and ask for a pass. And if the teacher wanted to use her privilege to hand you that pass, she could give you that pass, or she could tell you, go sit your behind down. You ain't got to go to the bathroom. Now, those who don't get a pass because they don't have the privilege end up peeing in their pants right there. Right there in the room, you pee in your pants. Now what do you get? You get punished. See, if you get a pass if you got the privilege. If you don't have the privilege, you get the punishment, and therefore need a pardon. See, the pardon comes after the punishment. The pass comes with the privilege. And go down that list of people who Trump pardoned, and you will be able to distinguish the privileged from the pardon. Those who have the privilege and the pass, and those who got the punishment needing the pardon. Now, there are a lot of people on a spiritual punishment because of what they've done to us. And the only thing that will let them off the hook, the only thing that will give them an opportunity to move forward, even after they've served their time and their ancestors have served their time, they're still being punished in the spirit, is because of the lack of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the ultimate pardon on a spiritual level. It's the ultimate letting someone off the hook that has done their punishment. Now, if you haven't done your punishment, maybe an apology will get you off the hook. But at the very least, I am not in chains anymore over what you did to me. That's why I forgive. I don't forgive someone for them because they need it. See, right now I look at Steve Bannon and Lil Wayne. I look at them all the same. It doesn't affect me. It's not my. I don't have a hell or a hell to put them in. I ain't got a window or a pot to throw it out of. You know, a pot to. Well, y'all know the the pot in the window thing. But anyway, that's the thing. That's the way we have to think about that. And then what else I want to talk about? Oh, here locally, guys, I'll bring it to the local and to the personal thing here. As I said, we start off on the national, go to the state, then the local, and now the personal. On the personal note, I'm kind of torn about the fact that the city of Jacksonville has partnered with Daly's convenience stores to fund a $250,000 campaign to encourage our young people to stop vaping. And again, this is one of those things where there's a problem with vaping, but you got to have some money to be spending on some vaping products. Disposable income. Well, disposable income is not something that our kids have, Black kids specifically. Black children do not have disposable income to go and ask any Black mama, can I get $25? What do you need it for? For some vaping products. Vaping product. Do I look like I got vaping money? That's a Black mama right there. Raise your hand if your mama ever asks you, do you have some vaping money? Or you got some McDonald's money? And you got some, my mama used to do it like this. My mom took it to a different level. I remember Converse came out and it was like $18. When they came out in the 70s, they were expensive shoes because all the other shoes, I think these were $14. I could get some $14 Converse because until then, you got what we call Bobos. And the Bobos you get from like there's a store called Grand Way and Zare when I was a kid. If y'all remember that, shout out to those who remember those stores. But you could go to those stores and you could buy a pair of sneakers for like $2. But when you wore them to school, everybody knew you had on $2 sneakers. And then came Converse, and Converse was the very first sneaker that hit our community that everybody wanted to wear. And they were $14 to $18 a pair. And I asked my mom for $14. Now remember, I was a kid who started my first business in elementary school painting Hot Wheel cars for a quarter using my mom's fingernail polish. I started my second business at 10 years old, taking out garbage in the apartment complex. By the time I was 14 years old, I had a business making string art and product. I was always making money as a child. So I had money and my mom was holding on to my money and I would ask her for the money. I asked my mom for $14 to buy some Converse. My mom said, can you put some gravy on those Converse? That was my mom's thing. It wasn't like you got some Converse money. My mom was like, can you turn those Converse into some food you can eat? But if you can't eat it, you don't need this money to buy them. I'm like, oh, this is Converse. Can you put some gravy on it? No, I can't. I did that with my girlfriend. I was like, baby, can I put some gravy on you? Can I put some gravy on you? Listen, guys, this is the Richard Cuff Weekend Report. If you guys haven't, the Weekend Report, I need to let you know that I'm launching the Weekend Report, relaunching it. So basically everything that I talk about throughout the week on the morning report, I'm gonna sort of package it into a podcast that's sort of like my greatest hits of the week. I'll take all of the segments that I do, and then we'll just sort of do a rewind on the Weekend Report podcast. You can download and catch everything that I've talked about for the week on the Richard Cuff Weekend Report podcast, and that therefore, of course, when we start adding interviews and a whole bunch of other stuff, I'll make certain to put that in there. But I'm excited about what's happening in my life and excited about the opportunities that are coming. And if you guys are watching this online, I'm sort of doing a Zoom presentation, and it's going over to my Facebook. So you can, it's ultimately on the Facebook and I'm sending it different places, but you're going to find the recording over at my Get Ready for Greatness page. So be sure to go to Get Ready for Greatness, look up Get Ready for Greatness on YouTube, and you'll go and subscribe to the page and like the video and ring that bell so that you can get the alerts every time I go live. And then also go to Facebook, Richard Cuff, CTI Marketing, Get Ready for Greatness, and the Simba Business Alliance. All of those pages, like them and follow me. And then, of course, if you're watching the video live, leave a comment. Let me know from where you're watching. Put live in whatever city and state or country that in which you're watching. And if you're watching on recording, put in replay, and then just put replay and what city from which you're watching. All of those helps us with our targeting and knowing what platforms are best. And ultimately, we're going to sort of, I don't know if I'm thinking about bringing them all together, because it really doesn't hurt us. It doesn't change if we do multiple broadcasts. But I'm more concerned with reaching you who have watched this video up to this point. For whatever reason, you've watched it. And so I'm not interested in hitting 1 million people. It serves me I wouldn't know what to do with 1 million people who are following me. But I do know what to do with one person who's listening with their heart, and I can have an impact on their life. That's what I want to do. I want to impact that one person, the person that I'm supposed to be talking to today, the person who will say, you know, bro, what you just said hit me right in my heart. You were talking to me. And I'm going to continue to do this. And I kind of like doing it from my car. It's nice and cool out here. So I'll probably do a couple of these from the car before I get back into the studio. Join me at noon, or well, I'll say 12:30, because I'm going to get started at 12:30. I want the lunch and learn session to go from about 12:30 to 1. Mainly because I need a window of time to do the work that I'm supposed to do. I got tons of accounting work in there on my desk. It's tax season. And for those of you who don't know me, as over the years, I've been at this for maybe now 3 decades, going on 4, as an entrepreneurial coach and a business development consultant, stand-up comedian, and Cora and Cameron's dad, Miriam's husband. I got to throw that in there because I got to go home after somebody told her what her husband said about her on the video. Life with Miriam, y'all. If I'm scared of my wife. There, I said it. She terror. Ooh, I mean, y'all just life with Miriam. 25 years though. I do love her though. I really love this woman. I met her on the set of a movie 26 years. What is that? January 27th, 1995. And Tuesday morning, 7 o'clock. I think it was like 7:04. I was supposed to be there at 7, and I pulled up at 7 o'clock, and I just started introducing myself to everybody on the set. And it took me about maybe 4 or 5 minutes to get to the back of the tent where she was standing with 3 other women. And I walked up, and she had her back turned to me. And when she turned around, I saw those beautiful eyes, and I said, "Oh my God, you are so beautiful. I bet you the star of the show. I'll pay you for your autograph." Miriam's first words to me was, "You can't afford it." And guess what? I couldn't. I had $3, and I drew. I said, "Look, baby, I got $3. Just touch the pencil to the paper. Get your fine behind." And we started talking. And I mean, I didn't think that it wasn't like I was hitting on her. It was like I just was with a friend that we could talk. And we had a lot of stuff we didn't have in common, a lot of things we did have in common. And then about 11:20, by this time she would go with me whenever I was in a scene, and then I would go with her whenever she was in a scene. So we were just going back and forth around the set. And I'm standing off camera looking at Miriam do this scene about 30 feet away. And I'm just watching her. And God said, "That's your wife." And I only knew her first name, y'all. That was it. I didn't know nothing else about her. We were just talking about a bunch of nonsense. And there I now have to figure out how I'm going to hit on this woman and get some information enough for me to form a relationship. But God was kind, and in my nonsense, You know, she got to know me for who I was at the time, and fell in love with me for who I could become. And I think that that's what was the most important thing to me, is that Miriam saw in me what I saw in me. And even though it wasn't visible to the rest of the world, and she's been there every step along the way. So I can tell you, man, when you get somebody that's on your team that way, it allows you to do two things. It allows you to have the freedom as an entrepreneur to go out, make the mistakes, and know that somebody's got your back. Because Miriam is not entrepreneurial at all. I call her the banker Miriam. And she got $5 bills in her wallet right now that's texting me saying, help me. I haven't seen the light of day for 6 months. I wish I had that kind of financial discipline. Um, but I'm really appreciative of the fact that my wife balances me off and helps me to go in a path that I'm supposed to go in. Guys, I'm praying that you find somebody in your life that can balance you. And it's not just the political party that you pledge your allegiance to, or somebody that's going to amen every word in scripture that comes out of your mouth. I'm praying that you find somebody that's the iron that the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and maybe sometimes they'll brush up against you. One of the best bits of advice I got came at our wedding for she didn't say it to me. My friend's mother said it to my wife. She said, sometimes the teeth will bite the tongue. And my wife looked at me like, oh, what does that mean? What am I supposed to say? And the eagle flies south for the winter. Miriam's a joke. She got some jokes, boy. But I told her no. What she was saying was, the analogy is that the husband and the wife are like the teeth and the tongue. And even though the teeth will bite the tongue and it hurts tremendously, the tongue will never jump out of the mouth. The mouth represents the marriage. So from time to time, we may hurt each other, and it may hurt tremendously, but we'll be okay as long as we just, like the tongue, vow to never jump out of this marriage. And 25 years later, we still in it. These teeth have bitten that tongue quite a bit, and those teeth have bitten this tongue. But we now know how to do that dance and kind of stay out of the way of hurting each other with our words and with our thoughtless actions. And if we could do that a little bit more in this world, I think that we'll be okay. We'll be able to sometimes be the teeth, knowing that the other person is the tongue. And I think that NPR Steve Inskeeps, when he was asking that question about how do you not roll over the GOP, I get it. He wasn't saying, how do we kiss their ass now that we are in power, when they were kicking our ass when they was in power. That's not what he was saying. What he's saying is, how do you show compassion to somebody that makes it difficult to show compassion? How do you show love to somebody that makes it difficult to love? How do you lift someone up when all they know is pulling others down? How do you accomplish that magnificent feat? Well, guys, I'll leave you with this. I'll say this: only love will reverse the hate. So that's what we've got to do. That's how we do it. It's not about when they go low, we go high. We've done that, and we've been doing that for a long time. What it's about now is we have to build up while they are tearing down. And that's going to be a difficult task, but it's not impossible. It's something that we can accomplish. So remember that only love will reverse the hate. And I could go over several things that we talked about, but let me wrap it up with this. I started out by saying the relationship between your physical body and your spiritual body, your PS factor, your level of conscious awareness of your natural God-given ability to attract a successful outcome in any given situation on levels 1, physical, 2, mental, 3, emotional, and 4, spiritual. That ability to attract success is based on your conscious awareness. But it's 4 different relationships that you can see it as. Number 1, you can see it as a king and a servant, or you can see it as a master and a slave. You can see it as a husband and a wife, or you can see it as teeth and a tongue. But either way, it's about the two working together and not fighting with each other and loving each other with, and this is all going on within yourself, people. This is all within yourself, because if you can't get this down, this relationship between your physical being and your spiritual being, if you can't get it down within yourself, the Bible says, God says, wisdom says, how can you love somebody out there when you can't even figure out how to love this somebody in here? Till next time, guys. Tomorrow